Hey, so welcome to the lab. There are so many different things. I want to be able to say this is a brand new segment of the lab, of my lab work. It's the area that I'm going to be making a whole lot of things. I'm going to be building a whole lot of things, especially using this app called Notion. I'm sure that later on my videos will suck less and less, but I mean, here we are. So this is just what we'll do. I would have intros and things like that, but I'm tired. Okay? It is 11:45. My kids are finally asleep. And I'm just wanting to get on here and, well, it's already the end of the month and it's about to be time for a new set of PayDay actions, is what I call it, which is basically the time that I use, that I set aside to manage my budget, to take a look at my budget, to see kind of where things were going wrong and right and things like that. But also integrating it into Notion so that I can possibly have less, issues with tracking certain things and writing them down. I still do write them down. I have a notebook. I actually got this binder here. I bought this on Amazon. It actually is used for the envelope method, right? So people are putting their cash in here, they're putting their debit cards and stuff in here, which was awesome, but for me, there's a lot of thunder and storms happening, so I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible before power goes out, before things happen or whatever, because if you can't hear it now, it's about to get, serious probably sometime later. Thunder's just shaking my walls up and stuff anyway. So I use this in conjunction with the Dome ledgers, the actual official accounting ledgers. One, to learn a little bit more about how to write in an accounting book, because I want to know how to do that as far as running my business and stuff like that, but then also just learning how to manage my money, and considering that the cash envelope method is a very useful one, and one that I think would be really helpful for me, the way my ADHD brain is set up, and the way my mommy brain is set up, and the way that my days just kind of run together. It didn't seem like something that I could really, it wasn't a sustainable practice for me, let's say it like that, because I'm not going to say that I couldn't handle it and things like that, because in certain situations, in certain contexts, cash is better, right? But overall, it just is not a sustainable practice for me to just be walking around with just cash, just kind of, not necessarily all over the place, because I have a book for it, but for me, in the way that I would need to track my cash, if I had the cash, it wouldn't matter what envelope they were in. Once it was spent, it was spent, and it would make sense. Once it's spent out of the envelope, it's spent out of the envelope. But then my brain would need to know what I spent it on if I'm not seeing it in the envelope. And sometimes I find myself, especially if I have more months than money, finding myself kind of beating up on myself for the fact that, I don't know where my money is. I know I paid all my bills, I know I have gas in my tank, I know my kids are fed, I know that I am fed, I know my dog is fed. The things have happened with the money that was supposed to happen, but I still feel this intense, guilt if I don't see cash in my wallet after having had cash in my wallet and then having nothing like a receipt. And I'm not the best at like holding on to receipts and stuff like that. So it was just like, I wanted something that would have me more engaged with where my money is going, especially because I'm on not necessarily a fixed income, but I get paid once a month. All my sources come in, currently once a month. So it was just helpful for me that even if I had cash, it was allotted in particular areas. And so as I started building out my systems in Notion and it kind of became an entire way of life and lifestyle for me, I realized that I could actually use my work methodology into my money management. And so that's what I started doing. Like I said, I still do find myself, because I'm still building the system out, using paper to make sure like I have a handle on all the numbers particularly. But right now, today and for the past few months, I've really been wanting to like dive deep into creating this system in my Notion that allows me to lighten my everyday carry. As a mom with 2 kids, like my everyday carry is already heavy because I gotta carry this and I gotta carry that, and I gotta make sure that we have these kind of like things available. And then I commute to go to work. Like my commute to work is an hour long, that one way. So making sure that I have everything I need, and the last thing I need is to forget something because I switched bags, but I didn't transfer everything into my bags. But so being able to make sure that everything can be carried in as compact and modular fashion and form without actually needing another piece of paper, which is another reason why I wanted to get out of actually using cash, because the more cash I'm carrying, the less sustainable it is, because the thing that I have to carry my cash in has to be big enough to carry the cash in all of the envelopes, and that gets thick too. So I started looking into creators and folks that were doing similar versions of the cash envelope method, but they were using debit cards instead. And an awesome feature that my bank has is that they have cash cards. They have, prepaid debit cards that can be used where I don't actually have to open a whole new bank account for money to be transferred into there, but I can have up to 5 debit cards that, like, in a family, you can actually have like a couple of different family members having these prepaid debit cards, and you can give cash out on them, right? And so, in the future, when my kids get older, I would consider that like, I'll give you instead of giving you cash, I'll give you a debit card. And what's awesome about this debit card is that it's connected to an app, right? And so on my end, I can actually transfer money from a particular bank account, right, onto these debit cards. And in the family sense, you have one bank account, and then you can just divvy up the money based on each one, and you can even give names to each of those cards. But because I'm using it as my cash envelope system, what I did was I have a bank account that correlates to every pillar of my work-life methodology, right? So I actually have a bank account, whether it's checking or a savings account, that is actually directly associated with each of those pillars. And when I get paid, my money goes into a business bank account. Taxes are set aside for that, and then the rest of my income is then divvied out based on whatever bills need to be paid and what pillar they're associated with. And then based on if I need cash, or even if I need cash from a particular account, then I would then distribute cash into those bank cards. So, and I have so I've been practicing a whole lot of different things. And so I have a few different bank accounts that I manage. Money is not constantly going in and out of all of them, but I do monitor what goes in and what comes out pretty regularly. And then that's what allows me to have the prepaid debit cards, because some of those are actually attached to savings accounts, so that I have money in the savings account. But because of the way my pillars are set up, I have like 4 main pillars, and then the sub pillars are also attached to each one. And so for the sub pillars, there may be like a cash account attached to it, which means, and there's a whole, it probably goes way deeper than I really want to go right now. I'm not sure that while I'm going through this, I'll even touch on that, but in this space right now, what I'm going to do is just work it out as if I'm doing the entire action on paper, while I am figuring out what areas need to still be built out. So just keep in mind that right now, this is not a fully, well, it is fully functioning for the most part, but there are some kinks that I'm still ironing out. So I am adapting this from a paper worksheet that a few worksheets that I use on a monthly basis, that I am then kind of migrating gradually into Notion. And so what you're seeing right now is basically what I've been doing over the past, basically through this whole year, since the beginning of the year, in this system. So some of these numbers are made up, and some of these numbers are not, just so I can test the formulas that are here. So just as an overview, this is my MONEY.werk dashboard. This is basically like the dashboard to see all of the things that are related to my money. This line up here is just links to the other pages. And when I say, like, this entire workspace in Notion is adapted from a couple of different, methods that I've seen people creators using in Notion. The main one being the pair method from Tiago Forte, and then also like getting things done. But I also really enjoy certain other creators and the way they manage their dashboards, and kind of certain things that they've done to help make things a little bit easier when it comes to formatting on their desktop versus formatting on their phones, because I also use this on my phone. And I've also noticed that between the iOS apps and the Android apps, because I also have both types of devices. I have an iPad, but I also have an Android phone, that widgets are just like, hands down, Android is better at widgets, right? And so in another video sometime in the near future, I will definitely be showing like how my dashboards here then translate into my Android, and how I can like actually flip through and see on like a really awesome scale. And so this sync block is a tester for how I want to see certain links show up in those areas, right? So, because right now I'm on my desktop, so this is just how we're seeing it right now. Okay, so this is the balance sheet. So obviously this is like a main overview of the income versus the expenses. Last month I did some stuff, and I have a carry forward. That was definitely, some of the things that are on there are coming from straight out of the worksheets that I've been using. And so, the formulas that are there are literally based on just entries that I place in there. Now, I don't actually have to manually type these numbers in, because these are actually relations. So this total income is actually, so when we go here, this page opens up when I start a new page, excuse me, and I have certain information. So I have the financial year, and then I have carried forward. Now, carried forward is an actual number, number of property. Basically, by the time that I am doing this PayDay action, I'm looking through all my bank accounts and I'm writing in like the total sum, the sum total of all of what's left in my bank account. I do practice zero budget, so it should usually be zero, but sometimes it's negative because maybe there's a little bit more months than my money, and on the last couple of days, I ended up having to get gas, and because usually gas is the thing that goes over because I commute so much. So, but that usually doesn't affect a whole lot. But I want to be able to practice in such a way that this is always zero, and then there's money in other areas. So that's how that's working. So then I have relations here. So these here are roll-up properties. These numbers are coming from databases that are related to this particular database. So the balance sheet is its own database, and then I have an income database and an expenses database. So my income database, I have every single time that I get paid, and I make sure that that description shows the month that I get paid, and then I put in a number. Now, most of these numbers are like projected numbers; they're not exact, or I just make them up because I want to make sure that the actual system is working properly. So I have this, and then there are other incomes that I add into there for the month based on what work I did, if there's any freelance work, if there's any school work. We're out of school for the summer, so even though I'm on contract, I still will receive a paycheck in July in the summertime because that's just how we roll in my school. So I get paid year-round, even though I'm only like part-time faculty. So, which is really awesome. I am so blessed to have the job that I have. Maybe a story time later on the full circle experience that I have as it pertains to how I got to where I am right now in just the grand scheme of things. But anyway. So this is a relation that's going to include all of my incomes and just mark down the month that I got paid. This page is a really simple one. Open here, and it just says, it gives me a memo, and it says like all the things. These are actually formulas here, and I love that you can like change the icons, so there's like a there, and then where it was deposited into. So usually all income comes into a specific deposit account, and this is also another database where that bank information is not actually inputted in there. I don't think, at least. Let's hope not. But so this is part of a database called the breakdown. The breakdown is basically the monetary valuation for each of the pillars, right? So a practice that I had put in place from some of my professional and personal development groups that I learned, as well as having like 7 bank accounts. Well, people have 7 bank accounts. It's oversimplified with the way I'm saying it, but like in the grander scheme of things, that's kind of some of the things that I came up with, right? So anyway, one of the things that I learned in one of my groups, reading a book by a guy named Jamal King, The 9 to 5 Millionaire. Go read that book. Get it on audiobooks because, oh my gosh, Audible, like, that has been a major thing that I have learned that I really enjoy, especially when you get an Audible who, like, when you get a book on Audible and the narrator is the author of the book and they read their book well, like, oh, Jamal King can read the crap out of his book. It is amazing, right? Anyway, one thing I found from the workbook was, one of the first things that he gets you to practice in there is to figure out what your number is. Like, how much does it cost to be you? So I worked it out on my worksheet, and I wrote down, like, basically, if money is no object, right? Not even if money was no object, just write down every single thing that you would pay money to have, to do, to help you in your quality of life, right? That includes how much you spend on groceries, to get all the things every month for groceries for you and your family. How much you pay on your car note. Be reasonable about that, because if there are numbers that are actually like tangible right now, maybe start with those as your baseline, and maybe like I like round numbers, so I always put zeros at the end of all my stuff, just so I could have a really good cushion in the event that, like, I want to overpay on any and all of my debts so that I become debt free. But even for the things that are continuous, like utility bills and things like that, I always overestimate the number in case there are overage charges for whatever reason, right? Like, I don't ever want to be bothered about an overage, although I don't want to think that my money should be spent on overages. I just don't want to be bothered that if there's an overage, that now I'm in the red because I had to pay extra on a bill that I didn't account for. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of where that is. So I worked on the worksheet, and I said, okay, I broke it down by pillar, right? Because my pillars were already intact. I already had the pillars. So in this particular pillar in the workbook, he's got family, finance, fitness. I can't remember them all, right? Because I have my own, and so I do my own. Let's see if I can just go to the database itself. So let's go back to. Okay, so now I'm like losing my place now. Anyway, so okay. So this is the breakdown. So so there are some account numbers on here. Let me hide this view for now. And then let's go and check out. Okay. So these are each of my pillars. There are 8 of them. So I have worship, and so each of these have tags that are associated with each of the pillars, right? So what I did was and these tags relate to the actual tags that they are created. Now I have them here in this capacity, but I actually do have a master tag database where it's a completely separate database that has this exact same information on there. I'm not sure why I chose to do this way rather than the other way, but that's just what it is for right now. So each of those things, right? So worship 15%, execute is 5%. I got these numbers specifically from, like, when I got the number, when I wrote down all the things that I would ever pay for in these areas, with the exception of worship, because worship is 15% of my net. Of my net or of my gross? Of my gross. Worship is 15%. My worship pillar is 15% of my gross income. And then everything else. And these are the goals, right? These are the numbers that I base off of my goals. And so my goals, my worship goals for 15% of my tithes, my offerings, and charity, the purposes here, that this would be 15% of my gross income being put to the side for these purposes. And so these goal amounts here are basically how I added all these numbers up, right? Now, I don't actually have like a date for what these are. This would be considered a sinking fund if I was actually making enough for those monies to like sit in there continuously, because that's part of the goal that I would like is to have is to earn the income where I'm reaching these goal amounts like regularly, like monthly, if not quarterly, right? But this is just the goal, right? And so the minimums are here as well. And the beauty of that is what I'm currently making right now is a fraction, but it's like a perfect fraction of the larger number that I would like to make, right? So my goal amount, let's see if I were to calculate this, sum is 23.6, right? So it's like $24,000 a month. That's a huge goal, but I want to be able to do that because these things are associated with all of those, right? So like 5% is spent on my skill craft and like operations of my business. Personal development and mental health is for the refining and rendering. 25% is on like living in quality of life that does not include consumables, right? This is more about quality of life and home stuff, right? So usually when you're thinking about being a homeowner, they say that you should aim to set aside a third of your income to be paid toward your mortgage. And, like no more than a third of your income be paid toward your rent or your mortgage. And so my challenge for myself was that, like, how it would be possible that because I have these pillars, that these four main pillars that exist for me, if I could break that down to 25% rather than 30%. Also because, like I said, I like round numbers. They make my brain feel nice. The fives and the zeros just, not to say that the numbers that come out because of the fives and zeros are perfect, but I will move those zeros and threes and eights and 875s around so that my numbers come out looking good for my goals, and then I manage and be able to like break that down on a smaller scale a little bit more easily, because 25% is just like, oh, I can just cut my paycheck into four, and then a quarter of that goes to this place, a quarter of that goes here, like that. That's what my theory is. Ideally, I would like for that to continue working. It's not a dilemma really, but the challenge is now to earn more income and increase my income on the debt to income ratio area, because my circumstance right now is that I'm a single mom. My goal is to buy a house. I'm just here recently divorced, so I'm kind of doing some things to get back on my feet as well. And part of needing to earn additional income is not just to have this huge goal, but also because I'm managing the work of a two-partnered a two-income household with just me, So, and I want to put my kids in a position where once they get old enough to start working, that they need help me pay my rent. Like that's not what I need for my kids, right? So I'm working it out, and hopefully I will reach this goal sooner rather than later, and then I'll be able to take this system and scale it like seamlessly, right? So in a way, the system that I have here is not just in theory, but hopefully also future-proofing, in that I can actually walk into the next phase without having to do too much adjustments, to making too many adjustments, because going from survival mode to a thriving mode does require some adjustments that especially a mindset that say, okay, you are no longer in the place of dire straits and danger and life and death, right? And that tends to be a challenge in the way of mentality more so than it is in the way of like all the other things that follow that. And so in the way that I kind of work out all of the things as it pertains to these pillars, the money part is kind of actually the last part. It's hard to explain without getting too deep into the other pillars. There's definitely another video for that. It will be coming up soon. I do have other videos that are kind of touching on certain other areas of my workspace. So if you're interested in those, please go check them out. They're awesome. They're a little bit older than what I have in the system right now, but they're still really good. Let me know how you feel about those. Anyway, so each of these pillars have their own purpose. They have my goal amounts, and there are probably some properties here that actually don't belong here because, like I said, I'm working on the system in such a way that I was trying to find the areas that would make sense to relate one to the other. So back to the main dashboard. So it goes to my balance sheet, and this is where the stuff is happening. And so I have a couple other databases. I have a debt account database. I have loan payment history. I have a debt overview, a summary of debt, and a total debt. Now these here are coming from a system that I saw another creator building out, and I don't remember his name right now. I just so happened to find his channel, and he doesn't have like a whole lot of stuff, or I hadn't found a whole lot about him at the time that I found this, and I really just wanted to make sure that everything that he had was locked in on my page, and I'm not sure how to integrate it into my system because I really do want something that will help me see from a bird's eye view as well, like what my debts are, how much I have left, how much I've paid thus far, how long it'll take me to pay off that debt, what my interest rates are, like all of those things, right? So I have that information there. And then there's some other little sandboxy things that I did. So this is from my expenses database. So let's go here and start working this out. So there's these. And so now my expenses, well, I'm going to start writing out all the expenses that I have. The dollar amounts will show up there as I continue them. And I'm just going to be like plugging in numbers for now because these are projected numbers. They are automatically withdrawn, so once they are actually paid, I can come back and put in the actual amount, and then the numbers will calculate automatically. So this purpose, see, on this page, it's actually attached to my master database, which is why I was able to just pull this up and it didn't come up as like a tag, as like one of those like multi-select tags. Excuse me. So I also used priority in this respect because in any other context, I don't necessarily use priorities in this way. I tend to get stuck using this quadrant for prioritization for other tasks because I get stuck on the urgent and not important because I'm like, what things do I need to do? Why are there things on my plate in my life that are urgent but not important? Like, it's making my brain burst. I know, like, every time I think about it and every time I might say it to somebody, they, like, remind me what it is. But like, because I don't use that, and I think usually if it's urgent and not important, or important and not urgent, I'm confused between that little gap of things, right? But oftentimes, because my system has not been perfect, or not even perfect, I'm not looking for perfection, I'm looking for progression. But also, even in my progression, I haven't figured out what things are urgent and not important versus important and not urgent, and if it means I need to delegate them, and if I do need to delegate them, okay, well, now I need to figure out how to earn enough to pay the person that will help me, because that's kind of where I am right now, which is another reason why I have a money goal set up, because it's not just about making sure that me and my family got really cool and nice things and security, but also because I'm here by myself, and while I do have a village, I need to pay some of the people in my village to help me do the things that I need to get done. Um, because I believe in paying people what they're worth. And I don't know why that's not a no-brainer to most people, but that's just how I want to function. That's how I want to think about it. And while it may be not something that I can do right now, I want that to still be ingrained in part of my financial goals, because as my earnings increase, that need to have some people around me that I can trust then also increases, right? Like, and I need to be able to pay them to provide that security. So, um, yeah, anyway, so, but in this context, it happens to be like very helpful for me to be like, oh, okay, let me figure out how to manage when I'm thinking about managing my subscriptions, it's not that I have a lot of like extraneous overpaying for subscriptions that I don't need, but it is that if I am paying for a subscription, that I can discern that, okay, this is a subscription that I don't necessarily need, so I can let that subscription lapse this month because it's Hulu, it's Paramount Plus, it's some sort of entertainment thing that I'm really not using anyway, because here recently in this season of my life, I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and so have my kids, and I mean, we don't really care that there's not things on TV or screens to watch. Like, there's always something that we can find, right? And then there's always something for us to do. So those things fall in the not urgent, not important, and we can discern when that gets paid. Versus important and not urgent that pay last, that are like other subscriptions that I do need, but for whatever reason, I may not be using them right now, or, you know, it would just be not, it's more of a luxury to have than it is something that's like very important. That it's urgent and important because of either one, it's going to come out on the first, or two, it's like, it's higher on the list of things in my pillar groups, if that makes sense, right? So, urgent and important, that's my car note, that's mortgage rent, that's my storage unit, that's my phone bill, and my gym membership. My gym membership comes out as urgent and important because it also is auto-drafted on the first. As well as, that's part of my self-care. Like, if I'm not taking care of myself, then I don't know why I would consider it not important, right? Like, taking care of my body is important. And it's urgent in the way that it's due on the first. Like, they don't play. So, there's that. Then there's urgent and not important, which is, like, sometimes I get caught up in the fact that I'm saying it's not important, but like paying my debt, because I gotta schedule the payment. I don't give them my bank account information for them to auto draft anything for me. You will get what I owe you. I'm always overpaying on those debts. But I'm gonna schedule that payment. It's gonna come out on a particular day. I'm going to make sure that the money is available so that my bill bank can pay them. But it's not as important. So I schedule that payment. And then everything else that comes after that is a pay last or deferred, whether I need it or not. And usually I'm pretty good about that. Payment frequency is monthly. Budget for that is $120. Date paid. Let's clear that because I'll come back to that when it actually gets paid. And then I'll also enter the actual expense paid. This formula will change and will tell me whether I'm over budget or on budget once the budget that's placed in here versus the actual expense paid are like related. So the status for that, I don't know why there's a checkbox for this status and not be just. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what that is. I don't even know what that roll-up's about. I don't even know what that property is for. And then there's receipts. So I usually do like a screenshot of the payment confirmation, and then I'll drop it in there just so I can say like, yes, I did pay it. I didn't just put the number in there and maybe I forgot to put these other things in here. I can put the receipt in there, and then I can still come back and be like, oh, okay, the date it was paid for that, and the actual expense paid was that. And then I can also put that against my bank statement if at some point I pay the bill, but then I don't come back to reconcile. I try to do this payday action once a month, but then at the ends of each week, because of the fact that I have a pay first, a scheduled payment, a pay last, and a discern, that there are certain weeks of the month, like usually the first 3 weeks of each month, there's a lot of money kind of coming out on different days, and the banks take a couple of days to clear it, and they'll be pending for a couple of days. So on Fridays I try to, or sometimes on Mondays and or Fridays, I go through and I try to reconcile it. That's another thing that I found that it was really good for me to have revisit in Notion rather than on a piece of paper, because sometimes I have a little bit of time while my kids are playing at the playground or whatever that I can sit and like look at basically my checkbook register, right? The little book they used to get with your checks and stuff. That I have one of those, but also like I tend to really want to use those more for like individual pillar spending, when I just want to write down like I spent this much and it's not showing up on my statement yet, but I want to make sure that I remember how much was spent so that like when I have to come back and reconcile, I can just come straight through this book. I will still write some stuff down because it helped me to engage in real time and have like a practice of mindfulness, especially with my money. Because my ADHD brain and sometimes my tired emotional brain that is spiraling because of all the things that are happening in my life, I will spend some money and then forget where it went, and that's just not how I want to manage my life, especially with kids. I don't want to embarrass myself kind of in a way, like, but I also don't want to put them in a situation that has them feeling like I can't provide and support them in the way they need to be provided and supported. So there's that. There are no debt accounts associated with that, so I don't need to worry about that. There's the page in the balance sheet that's associated with that. I have a relation to events this year because my brain was thinking that in the grander scheme of my workspace here in Notion, that my dashboard would include something that would be kind of like an interactive journal page that would have like, this is the day that I'm doing a payday action because this is the day that I'm doing that, and then there's like weather, and then there's my journal, and then there's this and that. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to use that, but the relation is there in case I need it. Later on, I'll determine like once it's like really up and working, and hopefully by the end of this year, I've had enough practice and enough of that kind of like ironing out of the kinks for each action that like by the end of the year, I will have understood where some of these properties are truly supposed to land and how I'll engage with them at that point. So I have templates for each expense, just so I can click it and the information just automatically populates in there. So this one is for the storage payment. Is there a property that's supposed to show up though? I'll put the budget here. There you go. So there's that. But the total expenses, this roll up right here is really, it is only attached to the actual expense paid and not the budget expense paid. So once I've actually gone into the account and put the money in there and said pay bill in whatever I say to do that, then it'll show up in total expenses how much I actually paid. Sometimes what I do to see how much I'll have left is just put that number in there, even if I haven't gone all the way through that yet, just to see like, okay, how much money I have left, right? I'm also finding that while I'm filling these pages out, that there are some things that I want to see. So I have a Shopify store. And the monthly Shopify with all the apps and things like that. Like I've already put the priority in there. I've already put the subscription type. I've already put budget in there. And so the only thing that I will need later on is like that. I'm not sure when this roll-up is out. So I'll have to figure that out, I guess. So those things. So I'm just going to keep going through. I actually don't need a Notion, but I always put Notion and $10 there just to keep in mind that if I need credits for like the AI tool feature that's on there, that I have money that's there. But because the workspace only has me on it, it's free, so I don't necessarily need it. But when it comes to allotting my money into the bank accounts that are associated, I make sure that there's $10 in there for Notion, even if I don't need to spend it. So I'll leave that there like that. I'm coming back to the loan and student loan and credit card payments because I think there was something specific that I wanted to put in there that I'm finding that I think I would much rather have like a full database view rather than a relation on there, to be able to see it a little bit more in depth rather than just the way that it's showing up here. I like the way that it shows. I like the fact that like Notion allows you to have page sections for relations in that part of the database. But for this particular page, for those expenses, I kind of like having a little bit fuller view and titles, like column titles, property titles, so I know what these numbers mean. So we'll continue on. Oops. Library? Oh, so library. I don't actually have a library bill. I don't have library subscription, but I do have I don't have like a library like overdue like thing. But what I say about library is because it's a part of my refine and render pillar which is where I keep my Audible subscription. I don't think I have any other book reading subscriptions. I used to have Kindle Unlimited, and so at the time where I would use $50, this was basically like if I wanted to buy a book from the bookstore, I buy a $30 book from the bookstore, or if I wanted to buy a Kindle, version of a book anywhere because the book club is covering a book that I really want to read this month or something like that, right? Then I have the money allotted for that, plus my Audible subscription. Plus, I really, really, really want a library in my house, like a real library. So yeah, so that's huge for me. I have investments, which okay, so this one is really cool. What I did was add buttons for the types of investments that I have. These are the current investments that I have. I have investments I have shares in Nintendo, I have a Roth IRA, and I will soon have a 529B college fund account. I have an account. I don't think I've started contributing to it yet. But there's some that are added on to that. So, so we'll do. So this button here, it created a page. Sometimes the buttons confuse me because I don't know that I'm telling it to go to the place it's supposed to go to yet. And then, especially this Roth IRA, there is no money pot specifically associated with it because it's under its own account, which is not one that I actually see as an investment account. So there's that. So when it comes to this, I just say that it's a part of, oops, not this one, this one, although it doesn't actually go to that account. Like, if I were to go to this bank account, I don't actually see it there, but I know that this particular pillar is where securities and those types of investments are housed. So that's just something to have noted. As far as this is concerned, I need to turn the filter off so that I can actually see date page relative day this month. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still working out how I want this to populate on this page because this is really one of those things that's kind of like some of the other bills that get paid where I don't necessarily get a receipt, and because it's attached to an account that is specifically out of my reach on purpose, that oops. Not exactly sure how I want that to show up. So we'll just leave it like that for now, and then after I start looking at the balance sheets there, the statements from there, it'll probably look something similar to the way my debt accounts show up, but kind of like, or maybe my sinking funds ones accounts show up. But that would mean that that this particular view that I'm using is attached to the expenses database, which has information that is different from what I would have been adding to the breakdown database, which is more aligned to the way I would handle like a sinking funds account where I'm seeing money go up and it not be because it's an investment account or it's a debt account. So I know I need to treat it a little differently. I don't necessarily have a goal for the Roth IRA, but I'm still learning about the benefits of a Roth IRA. I just know that it's good to have one, even if I'm not working full time, to have a 401k yet, which is the reason why I got a Roth IRA, because I'm not working full time. But I wanted to start building up my investments right now and doing it pretty aggressively, because $100 working part time is fairly aggressive. But I'm like, if it's already out of sight, out of mind, then it forces me to have to manage what I do see when it comes to me, which is like major accountability for me on my end when it comes to managing my money. Because it's not just about automation, but it is about, okay, when things are automated and streamlined, it needs to be going automatically to where it needs to go to. However, if I would still like for it to pass by my face at some point in some capacity, even if I don't actually touch it. But there are other things that I really do need to engage with specifically so that I can know and understand that, like, it came out of my hands and I paid it, and it is secure. I can actually like hard check it. I'm hoping that makes sense. So, time, notion, storage payment. I think I need like a worksheet, and this is where I would have like paper to just write down all the things that I would need to pay so that I don't forget a particular bill for any reason. I do have these as recurring items in my database, but because I'm still working out some of the kinks in each of the views and like the system itself, I don't have them on right now, I don't think, or they may be coming on the first, and then I might have to like figure out how to do those things. But I do have templates, like you saw, for each new page that I have that I create. These templates are there, and I believe that if I were to edit, see, there's a repeat that shows up every month for this. But it doesn't let me, right? Oh, it starts. So it starts on this day. Whereas I probably should be doing it like maybe on the 25th of the month, like before the first day of each month, because if I'm doing it on the first of each month, I'm kind of chasing my tail. Things are already happening, things are already being deposited into bank accounts where like, I need to get ahead of it, if at least the week before, if not like 3 to 4 days before. Excuse me. So, and because it's June already and I've already started this, I can turn the repeat off. Maybe I'll just tell it to do it every month, but then start back in July, and then do it, let's see, 25th is on the 1st of July, so we'll do July 21st, and then do 25th, and then do every month after that, starting on that day. That way, those things will already be populated, and then I can just kind of like go from there. So let's do that. Every month is actually like a really good day to do this type of pay action. So, oops, not what I wanted. And then I'm still like you saw, I'm still building out the credit card payment database. So really what I do is just make sure I schedule the payment and then write it down. I think that there's still space in the database to write down like the overall amount that I'm spending, and then I think what I may end up doing just for now is making sure that like the receipts and confirmations for having paid show up on the database, and then as I continue on through the year, it'll become a little bit more clear how I want those numbers to look, how I want them to show up on each of these databases. This is every year, but because they happen like on different months of every year, I think I'm gonna do them in January just to be safe. So, or maybe I'll do it. I don't think I have any coming up in the next couple of months, so maybe I'll just do it's Christmas. So let's do 22nd of each year in December. No, that's a weird thing to do. So let's do the beginning of that last quarter every year, because then the website domain name is really just to make sure that I pay that yearly $40 for the domain that I purchased. And I purchased just a few, so that I'm technically just squatting on them because I have brands that I want to fill into those areas, and I have my stuff set up for that. And I don't want anybody to take them before I have the opportunity to like copyright and trademark. So investments every month. And entertainment also every month, although it's another one of those expenses that I just set the money aside, but it could easily just get spent in another capacity, but I don't usually use it every single month. So there's that. So I've changed all those things there. Credit card payment. My budget is $300 for credit card payment. So here's where I have a little bit of a conundrum about what I want to do or how I want things to work out on my dashboards and things. So how am I doing account showing up? Okay. Oh, okay. No, these are all credit cards. And And then let's actually show this in the page section. And then, yeah. I think it's kind of where I'm going to leave that for now. Cardinal, let's go to this one because the debt account is attached to this one. I know the actual script pay is going to be $600 of that because they get paid on time, direct deposited from my paycheck, so it doesn't even come to my bank account. It gets direct deposited into the savings account that's associated with that loan. So I don't even get a receipt either. So, but I know it gets paid, so I don't necessarily have to worry about that. Oh, and the debt account, because I chose the card note, the debt account already comes up as that. And because it's part of the PayDay action for July 2023, then my card note, July 2023. I have to say that because I believe that because there's a relation there, that when this shows up on that end, the description might just be like card. And so the dates will be different, but the description will look the same, which doesn't necessarily matter, but I want to be able to differentiate it at a glance. So every single one of those I need to say July 23 on it. We'll just copy and paste it. Alright, are there any other, since there's a card note, there's one credit card, oh, it's just two magnets. Because Biden said we didn't have to pay for them yet, so I still have to pay. Which is dumb, but whatever. Status. Oh, so I think the status is just done or not done. I don't have like a completed or a pending or a process. I'm not sure if I need that particularly, but I'm thinking that because sometimes when I look at my bank account and it still says pending on there, that it may also be helpful for me to have it on this dashboard to say that. But for right now, if I just hit checked on here, then it's easy for me to engage with it to say, okay, I actually made sure that the money was out here and went to there. Even if on my phone app, my bank account says it's pending. Like it can be pending, but this level of doneness on here has me having accounted for those dollars, right? That dollar it's doing its job as we speak. It'll be only a matter of time for the other entities to reconcile that my dollars did what they were supposed to do, and they deal with, you know what I'm saying? The hey gay was supposed to have been given. So we on that. And then that's another opportunity to have that debt dashboard rolled up into each of these pages so that then I can like be like, okay, this is where I'm at on my student loan payments. This is how much of that's left. This is how much I paid to date. This is how long it'll take me to pay this off. I know that I'm sure that I don't know that these websites actually tell you how long it'll take to pay off your debt, but I do believe that if you get the paper statement, like if you were to look at the actual statement for some of these, especially the credit card statements, it'll tell you, if you stuck with this minimum payment, this is how much interest you pay, this is how long it would take for you to pay off, this is how much interest you would pay by the time you paid your debt off and all that other stuff. So I don't know if my student loan payment says that particularly, but I want to just have like an interactive version, like right here on the page on the screen that tells me that when I open the page up, and then it's different every time I look at it, which is kind of the challenge, because every time I look at it, it needs to be to date, which means that the information that gets populated down here needs to be filtered in such a way that it only shows to date. And I've kind of been confusing myself with filters lately, and I'm saying confusing myself because it may not be as complicated, but sometimes when there's multiple when there's advanced filters, I get a little confused as to what I'm actually filtering out versus what I'm seeing. So, yeah, I haven't figured it out for a variety of reasons, and that's one of them. So, there are those things. And see how carry forward is 0, but my total expenses only say 600 because that is the only number that I actually placed in the actual amount spent, actual expense paid. And so that's the only number that shows up there. What other expense do I have to like go with this month? Oh yeah. Which is terrible. This is a one-off expense. This is for yes, I'll keep it there, but then I'm also going to say family. Priority. It is important, but it's not one of the pay first. I have to schedule a payment for that. Frequency. This is I guess we'll just say monthly because it's just for the month, I guess. Budget is $875. That has not been paid yet. This is that account. This is new expenses. Oh, I forget because the new expense doesn't actually have stuff down here. So once I do that, then it'll close that out, getting a couple of lines broken in there. So see. Now my numbers are starting to reflect a little bit more, and that's helpful for me to know that I'm like, oh, I can't, I'm running a little low, like, I can't spend this much on this and this much on that, whatever like that, right? So, but also, this is not fully reflecting all of the income that I have, so it looks like I have a little less, but I have a little bit more to work with. Once I figure out the other income that is coming in that is not as fixed, a little bit more flexible, based on, it's fixed because I get a salary, but, I get like substitute hours, and like they pay me for other opportunities that I spend time at the school outside of teaching my class. And so I wait a little bit to add some of those other numbers in until the other check comes. And then I have the total income, and then that number actually like fully reflects, which is another reason why I just like don't pull those numbers out into the actual ones to see if I'm on budget or not. Which is probably another thing that I need to put on here, is whether my balance is um, not necessarily on budget or not, because each of those has one of those properties associated, but if I'm in the red at the end of the month. But I think that's probably where that's going to be. So I actually want, oh man, I forgot. I needed the income to show up first and then the expenses to be underneath. So I have to like go here, customize the page. Oh, I can move it like that. There we go. Bam. And then that's what my page looks like. I also had a thought that I wanted some things to be like dashboarded in here to make this balance sheet a little bit more clear. Oops. To make this dashboard to look a little bit more clear. Because after looking at some other creators, financial page, I like the way it's set up, but then there's some things on there that I'm like, I don't know if I really want it set up like that. And because I'm the only person currently that's doing this specifically, like I see that there are people that are doing like things like sinking funds and stuff, and so I try to glean some information about how they manage their sinking funds in Notion with this. But because I have like percentages, like I have a number goal, which is helpful because then it helps me to follow along with what they're doing. But because of the way I've set up my numbers to actually have like solid percentages, so that no matter what I'm earning on any level of my earning capacity, right? So like in this level of earning capacity that I'm at right now, I can still break my money down 5%, 10%, 15%, right? 25%, and so on and so forth. But then even if I start making $36,000 a month, I can still break my money down like this and know that my car bill's still getting paid, my phone bill's still getting paid, my rent is still getting paid, my mortgage, property taxes, things like that are still getting paid, because I've allotted those numbers into those areas, which is what created those percentages in the first place. And so if I am below the earning capacity of my goals, then I know that they are basically sinking funds that I'm putting money in toward, versus if I'm above those goals, or once I reach to earning beyond those goals, then they just become not necessarily sinking funds, but like, well, I mean, they are still sinking funds because the money is there to be able to pull out of to manage those things, but they don't become, they're not necessarily goals in that way, right? Like the excess is really like, I don't have to change these numbers, right? That also doesn't mean that I actually have to spend all of what's there because I'm in excess either, right? Like that excess could then just be placed more aggressively into investment accounts and things of that nature. But because of the excess, that I actually have the availability to put in a larger amount toward my tithes and offerings and worship retreats and, that type of spiritual development, versus like adding more is still 5%, but I still have more to work with in terms of like my business operations and skillcraft and like all of that. So hopefully this was helpful for anybody that is inspired to use Notion for their finances. If you have any questions about what I've done so far and how I built some things out so far, if you have any suggestions for how I could make this better, if you have like ideas about certain formulas and views that would fit really well in this dashboard and workspace, like please let me know. That would be awesome because it would help me to streamline this in such a way that like I don't have to use all paper. And then next time I can show you how I take this view here and use it on my phone, which then goes with me everywhere I go, and I can write some things down, and I can do this, and I can do that, and listen, I am so nerdy about Notion. Like, you don't even have to pay me. I'd love to be paid to talk about Notion. That would be awesome. But what I am saying is that even though I'm not being paid, like, I have turned a lot of people onto using this app for the fact that it is just incredibly flexible and forgiving in the way that it really allows you to progress and evolve in the way that you think about your knowledge management and task management and product management and project management. And it's just in all of the ways that I have found to use it, it's been really unique. It's been awesome connecting with other people that are also using it for their business and project and task and like personal, professional development and management and evolution. Like, it's been really awesome. So if you found this information valuable, please, please, please make sure to like and share and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified every time I put out new content. And definitely go back and check out some of my old stuff and like and comment and share, especially comment, so I have a little bit of an idea of what you guys are looking for and what you guys are going to be into for next time. Until then, make sure that you are managing your money and getting your stuff together.